The government has hidden a lot of things from us over the years. Tax collection, Area 51, where that Nigerian prince took my V-Bucks. These are all things the government purposely hides from the public. But today is different, because I'm about to expose these jerks for the biggest thing they've covered up for years. Until now. Because guys, birds aren't real. They're government drones.
Downward spiral, downward spiral, downward spiral, downward spiral, downward spiral, downward spiral.
Alright, so get this. This whole rabbit hole starts with a guy named Alan Welsh Dulles, the CIA director from 1953 to 1961. The suits told him to relocate $65 billion of public funds to exterminate all the birds. Here's the thing though, he had to do it in secret. So this man does his best Spy Kids impersonation and gets his boys to build him 120 B-52 bombers in Area 51. Now the reason the bombers were needed will be explained in a minute, but right now, I need to talk to you about the men who built these flying murder devices. Okay, so all Alan needed some Xbox Live friends to build his 120 52 bombers. That's where the 23 Boeing engineers came in. You see, these 23 humans were tasked to travel from Washington State to Area 51 on an old school bus. They discussed how they would kill the birds or whatever. But more importantly, they were discussing what the road trip playlist was going to be. Alright, so they were on their way to Area 51. They obviously took a lot of pit stops, right? So one of their buddies, Neil Ford, got left behind at a Waffle House. Why? Because he was in the bathroom when they dipped. That's obvious. They said he was peeing too many times and ruining the vibe of the trip. But little did they know, he was the only one left to tell the tale.
Wake me up inside. I can't wake me up inside. Save me, call my name and save me from the dark. Wake me up.
Okay, so it took 2 years for them to build the 120 bombers. During this whole time, the poor 22 remaining engineers worked in fear of Alan Welsh Dulles and the power that he had. You gotta understand, Alan was an absolute Chad. So when the workers finished the job, they thought they were done. They thought they were safe. But no, Dulles wouldn't let that happen. He made sure that his engineering frat party wouldn't spread the word to anyone else. So, he made sure they were all drafted into the Vietnam War. And when they were there, they were never seen again. Coincidence? I think not. So you might be wondering, how did all those birds die in the first place? Well, I'm about to tell you. So the bombers the engineers built were actually meant to release a liquid. That liquid, you see, was the bird poison. You gotta understand, when the birds were exposed to the poison, they would get extremely sick. And when they got sick, they passed it on to other birds. And this was the government's plan all along, as they would just substitute the dead birds with the drones. On June 14th, 1959, the CIA began the Water the Country bogus cover-up. Supposedly, they were just watering the nation's gardens. But within the next 6 years, 72% of the bird population was wiped out. Gone. Zip. Zero. Nada.
This is not my problem. Now, it's my problem.
Alright, folks. Now here's where the story gets really crazy. Now, Alan Welsh Dulles was in constant contact with Alvin B. Cleaver, the internal communications director for the CIA. Now, John F. Kennedy decided to tap the phone lines of Cleaver. Why? Because he suspected Cleaver of stealing his diamonds in Minecraft, punishable by death. Instead, when he tapped the phone lines, he heard the two talking about their operation to kill all the birds. He called them into his office, and they told him where all the bombers were dropping. On October 25th, 1963, Kennedy was shown a prototype of the Turkey X-500, a robot that specialized in eliminating those default skin troglodytes in Fortnite. He was impressed with what he saw, but he was still heavily against killing all the birds. But then, a week later, he was dead.
No, don't pull! No!
Now I know this might sound crazy, but I think it was the CIA. He was the first and only president to stand against the murder of birds. From Lyndon B. Johnson to the Orange Man, every president we've had since has turned a blind eye to the atrocities that began in 1959. After Kennedy was killed, the CIA started rigging elections, and only the candidates that were pro-civilian surveillance and bird murder would win.
I am inevitable.
So, why have I told you all this, you might ask? Well, it's for two reasons, really. One is to expose the government for their lies and corruption, and to take a stand against their dictatorship reign. Second, well, it's a great way to get people to stop talking to you when you don't really like them, which is essentially what I'm doing by presenting this to my class.